So I'm just picking Daisy up. She's the only reason I got out of bed. Otherwise I would still be asleep right now. I just hate that it's dark when I wake up. Why is England like this? Oh, her dad is leaving. He's leaving the building. Here she is. She's coming. I should probably clear the seat. There she is. Oh. Say hi to my vlog. Hey, I'm back from the gym. Let me run you through exactly how I'm going to approach this cut for the next 8 to 10 weeks. So that's one thing I actually need to figure out, is how long exactly I'm going to be cutting for. If we get my calendar up, we can plan this together. So it is currently the 26th of August. I started yesterday with tracking my food again. So if we're going from the 25th, which, by the way, I did my first phase from the 25th of May to the, what was meant to be 8 weeks on from that, and then I extended it 2 weeks. So that would have been the 28th of July, if my math is right. But I actually finished on the 8th of August, if I'm correct. Yes. So with that in mind, those last 2 weeks of my phase 1 weren't great, because my original plan was to go from 58 down to 53 kilos. I achieved that, and then I thought, may as well. I achieved that after week 7, week 8, like my weight was fluctuating a little bit, but that's when I achieved that goal. And I thought, okay, well, I'm on like week 7, week 8. Why don't we try and push it for another 2 weeks and do a 10-week cut and try and get to 50 kilos. And for some people, that's, that works fine and they can do that. Me, just no. 8 weeks was pushing it. I don't know what I was thinking going through that, thinking let's go to 10 weeks. So yeah, I don't want to do that again. I'm going to do another 8 weeks. I think that's just answered my question. So that takes us to 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That takes us to the 20th of October. It's crazy. It's going to be near Halloween. It's going to be so dark outside. Okay, that takes us to the 20th of October. That isn't bad at all. Looking at social occasions, I am going away to Italy on the 10th of September. We're currently on the 26th. I'm only going away for 4 days, 4 or 5 days. I will probably have a diet break at that point. But other than that, and by the way, with my first phase, I went to Portugal for 4 or 5 days, so I can do that. That should be fine. And then I'm pretty locked in. I've got one of my girls' birthdays, and that's all, because your girl doesn't go out. So, and I've got a baby shower, which again, I don't think is going to be that crazy. So 8 weeks takes us to the 20th of October. Let's write this in the diary. Phase 2. And I think this is really helpful, because if you are just dieting with no end goal in sight, this is one thing I teach my clients, especially if you've told yourself you're going to diet and maybe you've dieted before and been unsuccessful. What makes this time any different? Because usually you just diet until you've reached the goal you want to reach. But in our heads, that could literally be whenever, that could go on forever. There's no urgency to get to that goal, because it's just like, another diet. And then when you have social occasions, or the weekend comes and you just want a bit of a break from your usual routine, it's very easy to break that, because it's like, well, I'm going to be dieting forever, so, may as well. Whereas when you have that in mind and you're like, no, I'm not going to diet after this point, it allows you to kind of clock in and clock out. So we will end that on the 20th. I've had kind of around 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. How many weeks has it actually been? 1, 2. I've had 2.5 weeks of no dieting, kind of just eating what I want. I was tracking for that first week, and then I wanted a break, just a mental break from tracking. So then I just moved away from tracking, and I just weighed my food out. And then I have to say this last weekend has, I've not really been doing anything because I'm human at the end of the day and I enjoy food just as much as anybody else. So my big thing for this week is just getting back into the swing of tracking food, weighing food out again. Not feeling so restricted as I'm doing so as well, because sometimes I put a mental block on that. So that's what I'm going to work on this week. But my calories are set at 1600. I'm going to aim for 100 grams of protein. Ideally, I'm going to aim for 120 grams of protein, but 100 grams will be my absolute minimum. Obviously, the more protein I have, the fuller I'm going to feel, the more satiated I'm going to feel. It's very hard to overeat on protein. So that will also do wonders for my training and retaining my muscle. So I want to be making sure I'm eating enough protein. But for me, 100 to 120 grams is fine. Now, in terms of habits, what I'm actually going to do is, well, where I got to my last phase was I was doing 20,000 a day for the last 3 weeks or so. I started on 10,000 and I gradually just progressed that up across the 2 months. So I'm going to start at 15,000 because that is realistic for me and I can do that. I don't see the need of dropping all the way back down to 10,000 and I could do with the push. So just to get myself really locked in and push myself a little bit harder, we're going for 15,000 and I want to be consistent with that. And I said this on my Instagram story, I actually just want to be on 1600 calories consistently rather than doing a lower calorie amount throughout the week and then more calories over the weekend. I reckon 1600 calories is something I can actually be very consistent with because it's not too harsh. However, I have just noticed even from today, like tracking my food again, I've got my food planned because I had to do a food shop and so I know what I'm eating this week. However, I usually would have put everything into my fitness pal and then just use that as something to kind of revert back to see what I'm going to be having. I don't know quite what it is just yet, but the idea of planning out in advance those foods is making me not want to track full stop. So tracking is super helpful, gives you so much data on how much you're actually eating and how much you're going to lose based off of how much you're eating. So I want to be tracking and I don't think I should let that slide. However, this mental block, definitely don't want to force myself out of tracking altogether. So I'm planning to plan my day in advance. I've got a time slot in the morning. When I work out, I do 20 minutes of cardio before I start my training session. And with that time at the moment, I'm trying to find a good podcast, but I think for now, I can just use that as time to plan my food of what I'm going to be eating for the day. And that should be enough time to make sure I'm going to be in my deficit, make sure I'm going to be hitting my protein and not be so spontaneous, but also not put too much pressure on myself. So a non-negotiable is just making sure that is planned by the beginning of the day, if not like the night before, if for some reason I'm not training or I don't have that time slot. So that is going to be my plan around food. Back to my habits. I've got 2 litres of water I need to drink. I've got an evening routine I just want to get back into the routine of and just make sure I'm actually going to sleep a little bit earlier because I wake up at 5 each morning and where it's dark outside now as well, it's a lot harder to wake up. So I just want to make sure that I am actually getting a good amount of sleep. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Those are my main habits. I'm not going to do anything fancy. It's literally calories, steps, protein, water. Make sure I'm sleeping. If I can nail these, that is my best chance of succeeding and getting to 50 kilos. So that is the goal. The goal is to get to 50 kilos. I don't want to emphasize too much on numbers. I don't see the benefit of that. You need a tangible goal to work towards. I can't just go off of how I'm feeling. I can go off of progress pictures, I can go off of measurements because those are tangible. I can also go off of scale weight because it's tangible. I don't want to just use that alone though. I want to make sure I'm having a combination of all different progress trackers and not get lazy with these as well, because I did get a little bit lazy with measurements and taking pictures towards the end of my last phase. So I'm just learning, trial and error of what worked before and what is going to work for this next phase. One thing I will say is I'm a lot smaller now. Well, a lot smaller. I am currently sitting at 54 kilos. So we want to be able to drop 4 kilos in 8 weeks. More than enough time, in my opinion, if I can be consistent and find an approach which works, which isn't too harsh. However, I have to say, going from, let's say, 70 to 60 kilos might be a little bit quicker and a bit easier than somebody going from 60 to 50 because you are smaller. I also have to say that I am 4'11". I'm not giving myself excuses here, but if you are smaller, and this is for everyone here, if you are petite and you aren't tall, the likelihood of you actually having to drop your calories below 1500 is going to be quite high because there's less of you. Whereas this is why, for example, men who are 6 foot plus can get away with a lot of calories when they want to lose weight because there's a lot more of them. Whereas, yeah, I'm 4'11", I'm currently 54 kilos and I want to be 50. There's not much of me, but my body doesn't know that. It just means that I have to eat less calories. So that is just like the sad truth of it all. In case you were small as well and were wondering, oh, how low do my calories need to go? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Anyways, that is a phase 2 introduction to this cut. I want to take you guys along the journey because I think talking about it definitely helps me lock in a little bit more as well. Whereas, yeah, the last few weeks of that cut from phase 1 were tough. So another thing I found was evenings. I noticed that a big thing I was doing was snacking in the evening. I got myself into a routine where I would do my work, I would train in the morning, do majority of my steps throughout the day, and then do any extra in a big walk at the end of the day. I had my meals planned out. It would vary, but sometimes I had breakfast. Sometimes I pushed my breakfast back to around midday. Then I would have something around 3 p.m. and then I would have my last meal around 7. Now, I then got myself into a bit of an unhelpful routine where I would want to go to bed early because I'd be getting up early. So I'd be in bed, but it was almost like I was self-sabotaging a little bit with wanting to have some chocolate, have some sweets, have some snacks. Like, you know, I'm a very big sweet tooth gal. So I have to include that in my day, but I did notice towards the end, I was just getting greedy. I was getting so greedy with my food. It wasn't even just, oh yeah, program some chocolate into your diet. It was, program all of this chocolate and all of this sweets and all, and I was just getting really carried away. I had a real big obsession with toast and yogurt bowls and ice cream, and which I never even eat ice cream, and tea and a biscuit and a chocolate bar and cookies, and I could really go on. Like, I had a really unhealthy obsession because I got myself into a bit of a routine of it at the end stages of my last cut. So I'm definitely learning from my mistakes and I don't want to put myself in that position. So yeah, gonna figure out how to maneuver that one. But that is all we need to know for now with the cut. So stick along for the journey, guys. I'm about to get skinny. Before I go, I also wanted to mention how my diet really doesn't follow the typical structure of a personal trainer's diet. So when you think of a personal trainer or an online coach, you think of overnight oats, chicken and rice and broccoli for every single meal, protein shakes, tuna, cottage cheese, like all these sorts of foods. I am not a fan of half of them, and I think this documenting my cut actually might be a little bit of documenting what foods I actually can eat and be consistent with, which keep me full and yeah, don't kind of follow that sort of structure. Don't get me wrong, I love a lot of protein foods. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian or anything. There's certain foods I will rave about for my clients because I know they are great for you. However, I personally just don't like them because I'm a bit of a fussy eater. So I will be sharing all that I'm eating as well throughout this journey, just to give you an insight into my diet and how exactly I'm going to make sure I can stay full, enjoy my food and not feel too restricted. Also make sure I'm seeing results because yes, you can eat X amount of calories and lose weight. People will say, oh, it doesn't matter what you're eating as long as it's within those calories. it does matter, because how your body's going to actually look, how it's going to feel, are two different things to what the number is saying on the scale. So I also want to make sure I can keep my strength. I want to make sure I can still show up to the gym. I want to make sure I have energy. I want to make sure that I'm looking after myself at the end of the day. Even though I'm in a deficit and I want to lose weight, doesn't mean I need to sacrifice on my nutrients. So I'm just going to fill you guys in on what I'm eating. Just giving you a warning now, it is not going to be your typical PT diet. Don't get me wrong, I am generally healthy. I eat protein, I eat fiber on a regular basis. I eat carbs because there is nothing wrong with carbohydrates. But yeah, typical overnight oats and chicken and rice is not going to be my go-to in this diet. So keep a lookout, because I'm going to share with you my meals and hopefully you can take some inspiration as well. So as you can see, we're starting off strong with a tea. Can't go wrong with that. Can't open this milk. Goodness me. I can now do 8 pull-ups, but I couldn't take the little plastic bit off of the milk. Just says it all really, doesn't it? So I'm gonna have my tea and I'm gonna have it with a protein bar. I know I just said I don't really like protein shakes, protein bars, all that sort of stuff, but there's the Fulfill caramel protein bar, which I actually do like. It's the only, that and the Grenade Oreo one, those are the only protein bars I'm really like a fan of. I don't really eat much like protein supplements other than them, because they are good. Also, for anybody who loves a biscuit with their tea, you have to try this. Not everyone I introduce this to is a fan. I love it. It's Yorkshire tea, but it's a biscuit brew. Honestly, you have to get on it. It's so good. No one else in my family like it, so maybe it isn't that good, but I love it. My ex-boyfriend introduced me to this. The best thing to come from our relationship. So this was the protein bar I was talking about. One of the only ones I like. Honestly, I would definitely recommend. It's 149 calories. And I want to say it's either 10 or 15 grams of protein. It's not loads of protein, but it will do for a quick little snack. And then this is my tea. Beautiful. A big thing for me at the moment is just remembering to track calories. Oh yeah, it's 15 grams of protein, guys. I just looked on MyFitnessPal. Yeah, it's just remembering to actually come on here and put in what I'm having, you know? Such a weird habit to get out of. But yeah, looking good so far. Right, let's actually start some work. So I thought I'd just show you my new office, which is really cute. I'm still decorating it, but I wanted to turn it into a bit of like a office slash content space. So let me just take you out. Okay, so first off, you come in. My dad installed this light and I feel like it's wonky. It's taking everything in me to not be triggered by that, but oh well. I wanted to use this space here as like some content space. So I do a lot of talking head videos and I thought, well, this is a really cute chair, very Kim K vibes, to sit on. And I can put my camera here, just so I'm getting a bit of light into this actual little content space. I'm going to put a rug down and just make it a little bit more homely. I've also got a little lamp I'm gonna put behind the chair just to set the mood, you know what I mean. And then we've got our desk, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna hang some wall art up here, so I'll have to show you when that's all done. And then I need to figure out what I'm putting in these little frames, which I got from Wilko. Really cute. But the theme is green, and I have to say, right, I liked green before it was trendy. Okay, I feel like it's just a trend to like green these days, whereas this has been my favorite color forever. So just saying, it OG started right here. And that's pretty much it. I mean, my office really isn't that big, but I think this is my favorite part. It's just sitting right here. And I'm gonna do my content. Living life, guys. Yeah, thought I'd just show you all my office. You're gonna see me filming from in here from now on. Yeah, that should be cute. I'm also gonna put some shelves up here, black shelves. Got some picture frames. Just an interior designer at heart. Yeah, that's pretty much it.